Hi, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session of Let Us Talk It Zipinar. Our aim and our one goal to make an informed and empowered community. And we do this with our simple way of discussing, a simple way of telling each other what the community is doing as a whole. And how do we do that? We bring into this 1 hour for you. At least we try the maximum with 3 speakers, and then they shared their experience, they shared their knowledge, and then we try to help others to know about certain areas that we might not be at all aware of. So welcome everyone to this session of our Zipinar. We are extremely excited for the speakers that we have today. Trust me, if you join with us and spend this 1 hour, then definitely you will be going back with something worthwhile. So this web Zipinar happens every Wednesday from 12 p.m. EST, US time, and 10:30 IST Indian time. And we also try to empower our youth with our youth webinars, youth discussion, which happens every Friday, alternate Fridays and Saturdays. So if you want to know more about Let Us Talk It webinars and Zipinars, please do email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. And if you have anyone who you think would be interested to be a speaker or who would benefit from these discussions and these webinars, then please do let them know about it, share the word, and then we can all together build a better community. With that, we begin today's Zipinar. And today's first topic that we have is Cradling Leadership, to identify, protect, and nurture achievers of tomorrow. Leadership development is as vital as blood flow for organizational success, yet one of the weakest still amongst the current global workforce. So here we are going to learn how to cradle leadership. So I think in any organization or even in the household, when you are, taking care of the family, there also somehow leadership comes into action. So it's something that if you know about, there will be nothing that you will be missing out, or you can make a better tomorrow. And to speak on this, we have with us Jitanshu Chandel, and he is obviously a dynamic and power-packed motivational speaker, and he believes in the simple concept of empowerment. That's very close to our concept as well, as I said in our little earlier. And thus, he takes it to be a responsibility and shares his rich experiences with people, young and old, and motivates them to walk down the hard road and achieve all that they dream for. For him, sharing of knowledge and breaking barriers is the highest thing a man can do. So, but the best thing that I liked in his profile was his mantra, which is simple: when life raises a hand to stop you, give it a high five and move on. So without any further ado, thank you so much, Jitanshu, for taking out time and joining with us. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Julian. It was a pleasure to hear such good words about me. Generally, what happens is when people speak good about me, often I feel that people are like probably planning something. So anyways, it's always good to be in the audience. I'll just take these off. It's always good to be in an audience which is so rich, with such great minds sitting over here, and it's always a learning experience, and definitely it helps not just me as a speaker to communicate my thoughts with other people, but also grab a lot of information. So thank you so much for inviting me over to this Zipinar. So I'd like to begin with what I call as a topic. So cradling leadership. So off and on in the last 20 years, 25 years, leadership development, team management, formation of a lot of collaborations in office spaces or in personal lives. A lot of work has been done in this field. A lot of people are getting involved into this field. But gradually, what I've understood is that it's more said than done. Probably because not many people are actually aware of what leadership actually means at the core. Or probably we've received a very narrow definition of leadership, where we generally forget that leadership is a very vast and a very broad-ended term. So today in this small talk, I would like to give my insights as to how organizations and people sitting in positions can actually cradle leadership. They can actually incubate leaders and convert them into achievers for the future. So for this, I would just like all of you to please focus on this particular slide that I have on the screen. Is it visible to everybody? Can everybody see that?
Yes, we
great.
can see it. Yeah.
Great. So this is all about creating leadership. And just a quick brief, this fat little guy that you are hearing right now, this is all about him. So I am the director of operations at Target Blues Training Solutions, and I'm a certified NLP trainer, leadership incubation and team building guide. And I'm a business coach and a communication skills expert. I can be linked on LinkedIn at this particular point. And I'm also a good writer. So I write on WordPress at jitanshu35.wordpress.com. So this is an observational analysis. I'm deliberately not displaying it as a full screen. I'm deliberately keeping it a small one. This is an observational analysis, and I've received this observational analysis from the Center for Creative Learning. The leadership gap. So as we said, today's leadership capacity is insufficient to meet future demands for 4 obvious reasons. What we require out of a leader is to inspire commitment, to lead employees, people basically, to plan strategically, and to adopt and also promote change. But unfortunately, these 4 most vital requirements of the future workforce are currently the most, I'll say, rare skills present in the current global workforce. So if we are demanding something to be in an employee in the next 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, and I do not have a roadmap to actually train them or teach them right now, then that, as I started my talk, it is more said than done. This is a general scenario. It has been taken out of a survey, and it is a survey done for the need of leadership as a core skill in the last 20 years. So in the last decade, let's assume it from 2000 to 2010, majorly organizations, to streamline their leadership systems, they were hiring people from outside, people who have had good experience in the industries, probable advocates of leadership, probable administrators, all those people who had about 2 decades or 3 decades of core leadership experience. They were brought into the systems, streamlined the systems, and then they were allowed to exit. This thing continued up till 2010, 2011, and post the global slowdown, a clear transition in the requirements was observed. And HRs were looking out for employees who had leadership skills as one of the major competencies amongst them. Gradually, as we move into this decade until 2020, pre-COVID, now before COVID came in 2020, this was the scenario which was expected. So by 2022, companies were about to invest generally in core skills of HR only. So if you have like your technical skills, or you have managerial skills, your administrative skills, having leadership as a primary skill was an expectation by 2020. But now, because of COVID-19, it is now preponed. Now it has to shift back about an year, about 1.5 years in advance. So you will be observing these changes right from the end of this year. So in 2021, what we were about to experience by 2022, it will be here. Now, the reason why I chose this entire topic was I get a call from a lot of my friends who have their own organizations, a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, a lot of friends who are in the business of any any skill, basically skills or manufacturing, and they have one general statement to make to me, and that is people generally do not sustain in their systems. They do not remain in their organizations. After a few years, they tend to start finding out other places. They tend to move. One reason which we've cited is financial requirements. Probably because of financial requirements, people find out better opportunities, they move out. But the number of exit interviews that I have attended along with all these entrepreneurs, all these HRs, one strong feedback that I've received from people is the lack of identification of their abilities as potential future leaders. All the employees that are moving out, majorly more than the financial requirement, are stating that there is a bottleneck and it is too narrow to tip down. Unfortunately, entrepreneurs are not broadening this bottleneck. They're limiting the expansion of their organizations. They're happy with the current leadership systems that they've had. They have been able to identify a few people who are containing that leadership and continuing with that. But gradually, it becomes a little too slow motioned. The dynamic world that we are living in requires a change on a daily basis. But when leadership saturates, it stops exploring for new leaders. And that is the point where we need to understand how we need to identify new leaders. How do we need to cradle them, incubate them, provide them the real environment, and not to let them go a waste. So for this, I have generally advised all entrepreneurs, business owners, administrators, HR managers to take it as one of their key responsibility areas to start identifying all those young middle-aged people who have the flair, who have the confidence to come out, to be able to take other people with them, to be able to bring them at the center of a thing and make them move. Cradling leadership begins as soon as you start identifying the basic skill of an employee, and that is his urge to come into office every day on time and feel the need that he is required in the organization at 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever the starting time is. That urgency in him or in her to come into office to see that I can work, I can collaborate, I can contribute. From there, the bare minimum can start to identify all those people who have the urgency to come in and do and contribute. Now, that does not mean that you allow them to compromise on their personal lives. You cannot allow people to use this urgency as a tool to showcase that they're too involved in the organizational setup. You have to ensure that it is a genuine urgency. It is not an attempt to show what they are not. So that identification needs to be done. Once you've identified such people who have the urgency, they cannot sit still. You know, the best part of finding a leader is a leader can never sit still. He would be continuously beaming with energy. He would be moving about, collaborating with people, talking to people, sharing ideas, grasping ideas, trying to motivate other people, trying to give them a reason to believe in what they are thinking. He would be the one, she would be the one who would go to people, try and find out how well they can associate with one another. And these are the people who actually make the entire setup in an office worth working. I remember when I was hired on my first job as a university professor. I was young, not too mature, did not know the ins and outs of academics much. I had a senior, I had a professor who was of about 45 years of age at that time. This was about 10 years back. He was a very calm and a very confident personality, never used to be off his space, never interruptive, very calm, soft-spoken gentleman. But the one thing which I always observed in him, when he was in his class, he was identifying all those potential students who had the capability to work extraordinary. And he did not stop there. He would bring these students into the staff room, take them into his cabin, talk to them, motivate them, and then ask each one of them to bring another student the next day to work for the project that he had given them. That inspired me a lot to understand what exactly is he trying to do. He's trying to find out how these young minds can work, and then giving them a reason to be leaders and bring more with them. And as soon as these kids used to bring more people with them, more students with them, he used to walk out. He used to isolate himself and he used to move away. He would allow them the playground. He would allow them the space to do mistakes. He would allow them the space where they could experiment. And by the end of the semester, I saw 3 groups coming up with wonderful fuel efficiency based engines, a go-kart that competed in the Baja International Competition at Bangalore, and a student who came up with an idea of how to convert waste material to extract ethanol out of them to fuel future cars. All these 3 groups, the leaders of these 3 groups, are currently working in reputed organizations. The gentleman is still there, promoted to the position of vice principal of the organization. But he did not stop there. He continuously, every single year, every single semester, he's finding out more people, cradling them, giving them a secure environment where they can do what they wish to do, without the worry that they will be reprimanded for a mistake. He is there to protect them. He is there to safeguard them and to guide them further and not take away the share of success that they have. He's there as a parent. He's there as a guide, but he's also there as a protector. That is what cradling leadership is a requirement for the future now. What we are doing is in the glamour of too much business making, we are forgetting an elementary thing, that businesses run and operate out of human beings. Your employees are human. Your customers are human. Your clients are human. Your investors are human. Everybody is human, and humans work on emotion. And one of the strongest emotions that can be triggered in an individual for a positive outlook is the ability to be able to stand out and take other people with them and move ahead. To all entrepreneurs who are hearing me right now, I would like to convey a message to all of you. You've done a brilliant job. You are leaders amongst yourselves. You have taken the stand to step out. You've gone out. You've made an identity for yourself. But it's now time that you also identify all those people who can carry the legacy forward. We generally excuse ourselves saying that my role is to see that all the operations of the business work properly, and all this identification work is the responsibility of the HRs or the departmental heads or all these people. My work is to overlook operations and that everybody is getting the money at the end of the month. No. If you seem to think that your responsibility ends here, then it is again a bottleneck for you as well. The growth of your organization corely depends upon the growth of your employees, the people who work in and out, day in and day out for you. Their transition is something which is at the helm of things for you. So rather than cornering yourself from whatever is happening, as we say over in India, mujhe kya karna hai. Translating it into English, what have I got to do with it? My work is to oversee things. My work is to invest my money. The other things, they keep happening. These are petty matters. Why should I get involved? Some people take it onto their dignity. I am the entrepreneur. I am the business owner. I'm not supposed to get involved into day-to-day operational matters of my organization. But there is where you're failing. There is where you're making the grave mistake. Probably because of your cornering, somebody who would have been incubated, somebody who have been protected, would have come out with a brilliant idea and said to you, sir, do this. We would be able to do that. So the journey from this to that depends on how you create an environment where the person feels that I can reach that if I can take this to him. You'll have to be approachable. Sometimes you will have to curl up your cuffs. You will have to fold your trousers up and you will have to walk into the pond in order to catch the fish. Once you've done that, phase 2 of cradling begins. Nurturing. You are now giving them all the right ingredients to work with. So if you've done that, you've first identified the right people, you've started protecting them, now you've started nurturing them. And in the phase of nurturing, what you're doing is you're giving them the right set of tools, the right set of things that with which they can play around with. So when I say the core of leadership is initiative taking, recognizing the areas of change improvement, building a team and recognizing the skills of each, and most importantly, allocating resources judiciously. Giving an arrow to a swordsman is not going to win you the war. You will need to give a sword to a swordsman and a bow and arrow to an archer. If you do not allocate the resources judiciously and you do not recognize the skills of each and every individual of your organization, nurturing can never happen. You may recognize the areas of improvement, but before that, you need to first identify the core skills. So nurturing begins once you've identified the leadership scope in the candidate, then you need to identify what skills is he or she good at that can be put to use. And then you allocate the playground judiciously. And then you lead a team in an unbiased way. They are looking up to you. They are seeing you as a role model. They want to work for you. They want to work with you. You will have to be unbiased. You will have to be completely free of any reservations, thinking gender, age, color, race, anything. You'll have to put that aside. If all these things strike your mind even once while you're building a team, I am sorry, the entire effort of building a team is a failure. Unbiased attitude towards developing a team, recognizing these talents, and then going ahead with them. These are the things that you need to take. And the cycle is endless. People would get connected. Some might exit. To replace them, you will have to churn the cycle again. So it's an endless job. It's a tireless job. You'll have to keep coming in and day out, recognizing these people on a daily basis. And then finally, post nurturing them, you also need to give them opportunity. Thinking merely that I have incubated them, protected them, given them the right set of skills, I've given them the right sets of resources. Now it is their responsibility to work. No, they would be able to work only in limited capacities, only in the areas in which they can work. But if you require them to perform as per your understanding, you will have to give them an opportunity worthy of your understanding as well. Test them. Don't judge them. Test them on the parameters that yes, they are ready. They can now play. They will make mistakes. You might think that probably we spend a lot of time, 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years, incubating them, giving them the right set of skills. Again, they are not performing at parity. Does not matter. They might not be able to generate desired results in the current stage, but gradually, as you keep giving them more opportunities, they become sharper, intelligent, more wiser, and they will be able to judge the expectations and perform better. So these major skills have to be tapped by you. Now, you would also have to keep an eye on all those who are actually not doing the leadership thing properly. There are many who would be creating a facade in the organization, trying to show that they are great leaders, but actually they are talent killers. I'm very outspoken about it. I do not mince my words when it comes down to office politics. Grand talent is lost in organizations wherever there is politics breeding. You will have to identify these politicians. They might not be wearing those nice little suits on a daily basis and coming in and bringing grand speeches, not required. They might be eating into your organization. They might showcase themselves as to be one of the strongest people in your workforce who can do and deliver the work at time. But actually, when you turn your back against them and when they go into their own playground, people do not respect them. They do not want them. They do not want to work for them. They do not want to work with them. They might be excellent in their work, but if they are killing your talent, they are not worthy of being kept. Either formulate a policy to either make them work for the organization's benefit or weed them out. Does not matter how good they are. A good candidate would always replace him who would find it that he is not being pressurized under office politics. You turning your eye at the very moment kills every single opportunity that you can get out of these people for the growth of your organization. So please work on this front, identify all those people, get them on board, train them, incubate them, protect them, safeguard them. Understand, leadership is not always top to bottom. It can be generated from bottom to up. It's always about taking the right decisions. And it's always to keep the others before the self. So in order to create that kind of an environment in the organization, you'll have to stand out yourself. Most importantly, it's a magic. It works on the process of responsibility sharing and then attaining respect. It's all about individual to collective, and it is an effort to build a team. My last words to conclude my short speech on this particular topic is, ladies and gentlemen, leadership is not something that is supposed to be seen only in the glamorous light. We see our politicians, we see our sports personalities, we see our entertainers, we see our rock stars performing on stage. We assume them to be leaders. They are in their own spaces, they are in their own professions. But when you are working in your own environment, you may feel that the leaders, they are not living in too much of glamorous light, but what they are doing is they're creating the opportunity for others to enjoy that limelight. And no other skill, no other effort can be as worthy as this is. So on this note, thank you so much for being so patient and hearing me out. I would be open to any discussions, any questions that anybody has. It would be an honor to answer. Thank you so much from my side. Thank you, Julian. You please take it off from here.
Thank you so much, Jitanshu. Absolutely, I think spot on. You were on it, and you knew what you are talking about, and I cannot agree more. That's all I have to say. Srini, you want to add something?
Yeah, Jitanshu, I'm really surprised to hear all that from you, because it's so realistic on the ground, and then it was just explosive, and it addresses the latest and greatest, in terms of the concerns we have in many organizations, and whether it's corporates or other cultural organizations and all. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I think, definitely I'll request you one more session for, especially for, some organizations other than corporates as well.
Sure. We'll
yeah. So, yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
Pleasures, man.
Definitely loved your enthusiasm as well. Thank you, Jitanshu, from our team. And, we expect, as Srini said, to have you again soon. Thank you. And now